Yesterday, when we were graphing, we did a bunch of transformations, right? We get the vertex form. You saw that. Okay, so today we'll get into the writing of the vertex form, and more specifically, it's more about changing to vertex form from either standard form or the root form. Okay, as you can see here from number 1 and number 2. Now, that's one way to do it. Okay, one way to do it is that if we know the vertex, then basically we are almost 90% there in the vertex form, and the remaining 10%, it's really the a value, and the a value is same a value that we see in the standard form or the root form. So, and you just take a quick glance at this standard form, we know a is equal to 1. All right, so a is equal to 1. That's great. Okay, and then we will go ahead and do our vertex. Okay, our vertex is going to be well, we know the axis of symmetry, right? Axis of symmetry. It's x equals to negative b over 2a, and that would be a negative b over 2a. Now you can see my habit here. I use parentheses for my substitution, and even though a value it's 1, I still write it out. Okay, it's just a good habit to have. So I can see that my x value of the axis of symmetry, it's -3, which is also our vertex. Okay, so we're going to write down the vertex, and the vertex is -3 comma something, but what is that something? So now we need to find out the y value of vertex, and to do that we need to go ahead and substitute the -3 into the x value. So we have 9 minus 18 plus 5, and then you got 14 minus 18, which is -4. So, so we have the vertex, -3 comma -4. So what is our vertex form? It's simply our a value, which is 1. We don't have to worry about it. And now we also don't have to worry about the b value in this case, because the b value, it's you may go ahead and assume it's 1. The reason why we would go ahead and assume that, because you can think about combining the vertical and horizontal stretch and shrink combining together. Okay, so if you look at this equation, what you can do is think about, all right, if you square the b and multiply it to the actual a value, so there you go. Okay, so that's your simplified vertex form. Okay, that would work 99% of the time. Okay, so what we do, we have the a value that's equal to 1, so we just put a implicit 1 right there, but we don't write it out really, so just leave it. So we know it's the 1, and then x minus -3, which becomes +3 square, and then -4, and you know, that's it. That's how we get our vertex form. Okay, so by simply using the what is it called, the vertex. Okay, so we have learned the way to figure out our vertex for each quadratic equation, and now we can put it to use. Okay, same thing right here. Right here for number 2, it's called the root form. Okay, and that means we know a couple of things. We know the a value, that's 2. We will use it in our vertex form, the 2 right there. Okay, and then we also know the roots. Okay, the roots are x equals to. Do you know the roots here? X equals to -2 and +8. Okay, because that's what makes the whole thing 0. So you need to have -2, then you +2, which you have 0. Okay, so now if we have the roots, and we know that the axis of symmetry, it's always right in the middle between the two roots, That means to do that, to find out the axis of symmetry, we're not going to use the negative b over 2a because that's for the standard form. Instead, we're going to find the midpoint, aka average, of these two numbers. Okay, so negative 2 plus 8, it's 6. 6 over 2, it's 3. So x is equal to 3. So we know our vertex is going to be 3 comma something. But what is that something? Well, then we go ahead and search for the y value of vertex. Okay, and we have an equation, so it should be really, really straightforward. So 3 plus 2, and then 3 minus 8. So you have 2 times 5, and then times negative 5. So that would give you negative 50. Okay, well, that's a big number, but it's okay. Okay, because we don't get scared by big numbers. You might get some big numbers in this exercise here. As long as you do it correctly, there's no need to be afraid of. Okay, the big numbers. Now, as you write down the vertex form, what you would also see is that I'm going to point out a very careless mistake that many students tend to make. Because many students, they tend to make sure that they put in these numbers correctly. They often forget something. You know what they forget? They forget the square. Now, so this I'm going to remind you this. I'm going to give you this reminder. If there's no square, then it is not quadratic. Okay, so you've got to have the square in order to be called a quadratic equation. So, okay, so that's something you want to make sure that it is done properly. All right, now in the next video, we'll go through 2 more examples on how to get the vertex form from the standard form and root form. Just to go over it very quickly, just to get you more comfortable using the standard form and root form. Okay, and then we'll move on to part 2 afterwards.